Hi and welcome everyone to another video. My name is Denis and today we're going to discuss pretty much about everything you need to know ahead of Game Week 13 of Fantasy Premier League, so let's just get into it. Okay guys, so as I said before, in today's video we're going to discuss about a lot of things, about everything you need to know ahead of Game Week 13. We're going to try to preview Game Week 13, we're going to take different topics, so feel free to jump to any section of this video you want, but at the beginning we're going to see how some teams played in the Champions League, their latest lineups, because I think that we can take a lot of information from this. And we're going to start with Manchester City. This is how they played against Leverkusen in the Champions League. They lost in this gaming. So again, as you can see from the screen, this is pretty much the second string for Manchester City. So this is their second team. The only player who also started in the Premier League from this team is Nico Gonzalez in midfield. So again, why am I talking about how Manchester City lined up in this game against Leverkusen? Because obviously a lot of people maybe are using their fleet in gaming 13 is going to be a really popular chip. Maybe you want a triple captain Erling Haaland, and as you can see, because Manchester City obviously played their second string here in this game, a lot of players were rested. Players like Doku, Foden, Erling Haaland, O'Reilly, a lot of players were rested. So this is pretty much the basic idea we can take from here. It is still Manchester City. So again, some of these players could start also against Leeds at home. The fixture is just nice. And if this was an audition to see if any of these players are worthy of starting against Leeds in Game Week 13, they pretty much failed because, as I said before, they lost. Now again, someone like Reinders, someone like Marmoush, Gonzalez, Aignery, they could still start against Leeds. But again, I would expect their first team to start because obviously, again, they played pretty bad against Leverkusen. I don't think that Pep Guardiola is going to make so many changes. Again, you're never going to be 100% sure, but if you're free hitting in Game Week 13, again, you want to have three players from Manchester City, and the likes of O'Reilly, Foden, Doku, Erling Haaland obviously are pretty safe at the moment. I would say as much as we can say about any Manchester City player. So again, if you're not using your fleet, this could also be an interesting opportunity. If you want to take a punt on someone like O'Reilly, probably that's where I would go. If you want to buy a defender, if you want to go for someone like Foden, Doku, again, the next few fixtures are pretty decent. Again, it really depends also on your chip strategy. It depends if you're freeing in Gaming 13. It depends when do you want to use your triple captain. If you want to free it also in Gaming 16. So a lot of things to take into consideration. For example, for my team, I'm planning to use my free hit in Gaming 16 when City are going to play against Crystal Palace. So it could work really nice if you want to buy someone like O'Reilly. It could work out because again, you could just ship him out in Gaming 16 with your free, and someone like Aignery also after Gaming 15, maybe in Gaming 16, 17, he's going to go to the African Cup of Nations. So yeah, he could be a really nice option again. If you want to use your triple captain, this is pretty much as you can get. Erling Haaland rested, they lost also, they're going to play against Leeds at home. So yeah, depending on which chips do you want to use, how many free transfers do you have, how different you want to go in Game Week 13, this is an opportunity. We don't often get this kind of opportunity in FPL with Manchester City especially, and as I said before, I don't think that they are 100% sure to start against Leeds, the players who were on the bench in this gaming, but this is pretty much what we can take from this lineup. They lost to Leverkusen, their main players probably are going to came back, so if you want to take on some Manchester City players, probably this is the right time for you to do it. Next up, we're going to talk a little bit about Liverpool, and trust me guys, I don't really feel amazing talking about Liverpool at the moment. As a Liverpool fan, there it is a crisis at the moment at the club. Now the latest news, what I can tell you, for today, Arne Slot had some kind of press conference today, and with the injured players, Alisson is expected to be back, Florian Wirtz final day of rehab tomorrow and could train with the team on Saturday, and Hugo Ekitike, who got injured last night against PSV, is not a big issue following a back problem pretty much. So again, I don't think that a lot of people are going to buy Liverpool players at the moment. If you're using your fleet, again, I still think that you should have some of them. But if you don't want to go for Liverpool players, even on a fleet, I totally understand it. They lost to PSV. 4-1 at Anfield. Again, they are in a really bad place at the moment. Liverpool, I'm not sure how this is going to change and how soon that's going to change. Now, I'm hopeful that they're going to improve at some point. They played again. Soboslai was playing as a number 10 because Wirtz is injured, obviously, and Jones was tried as a right back. So again, that's positive. If you have players from Liverpool, what I should say in the beginning is I think that you should just keep them at the moment. The fixtures are just great, so I don't think that's a rush to sell them. Obviously, a lot of people bought Van Dijk last game week, and he's going to get a lot of criticism. Liverpool are going to get a lot of that, but I just think that the fixtures are good, and I just don't think that's a rush for you to sell them. If you have someone like Soboslai, again, he played as a number 10. There's where you want to have Soboslai playing. You don't want him to play as a right back, so that's good news for you. And as long as he's not going to get that yellow card, he's going to be okay. Konate, Virgil van Dijk, Kerkez, Marmardashvili started in goal, but Alisson probably is going to came back. Gravenberch and McAllister, so pretty much they played their strongest 11 and got trashed by PSV at home. Mohamed Salah, Ekitike, Gakpo. On a free hit, again, if you want to take some punts, I would go probably for someone like Mohamed Salah, someone like Gakpo. I can't really believe that we're talking about someone like Mohamed Salah as a punt. But yeah, they are huge differentials at the moment. They are still going to play against West Ham, so yeah, I think that's still a good idea to have some Liverpool players on a free hit. Maybe, yeah, I probably would not go for Virgil van Dijk at the moment. Yeah, this is pretty much about Liverpool. Ekitike again got injured. The injury is not major, so probably Alexander Isak. I would be expecting him to start against West Ham. I would expect to see Mohamed Salah, Alexander Isak, and Gakpo, but we need to see also if Wirtz, if Ekitike are going to be able to train in the recent weeks. The other players, Frimpong, Bradley, they are all out. So yeah, this is pretty much about Liverpool. Now talking about their form, if you're not using your fleet, I just don't think that I would buy any Liverpool players at the moment. If you have them, probably I would still keep someone like Gakpo, someone like if you have someone like Mohamed Salah, that's a tricky question, obviously, because he's a lot of money. So again, the fixtures are decent. Probably you just keep him after he's going to go to the African Cup of Nations. But yeah, the things are not looking good for Liverpool. And as a fan, what I can tell you is that I don't know exactly what's happening at the moment at Liverpool. The players are just not trying hard enough. Soboslai is pretty much the best player for Liverpool this season, and he's almost the only one who's even trying. So again, it is a sad situation for all the Liverpool fans. At the moment, we're not playing well, and fair enough. I still think that it's worth going for some Liverpool players in FPL, but yeah, probably I will avoid them at the moment until I can see some improvements. But let's move to the other team. The last team we're going to talk about in this section is going to be Arsenal, who just won against Bayern Munich 4-1 at the Emirates. So again, even without Gabriel, even without other players, they are still an amazing team, probably one of the best, if not the best team in the world at the moment. So as you can see from the screen, this is how they lined up. A little bit tricky with Arsenal because they didn't start all their usual starting players. Let's say they started Timber, Saliba, and Mosquera was paired with Saliba, and also Lewis Kelly played instead of Calafiori. Again, if you're an Calafiori owner, I wouldn't rush right now to sell him, obviously. I think that I would just keep him. It's likely that he's going to start against Chelsea. The next fixture for Arsenal is not amazing against Chelsea away. I would not be rushing to buy any Arsenal players, honestly. If you want to buy them, obviously. If you have them, you're just happy to keep them, right? They are just amazing. They could keep a clean sheet. They could score some goals against Chelsea, but it's not an ideal fixture, I would say. Other than that, they play Zubimendi, Rice, and Eze. The front three was Saka, Merino, Trossard. Now, the latest news is that Trossard obviously was took off injured last night, so that's just going to boost someone like Bukayo Saka's minutes. And when Trossard got out, he was replaced by someone like Madueke. So they have a lot of depth. Arsenal in attack, in defense, they have a lot of players. If you want to buy some players from Arsenal, I think that my favorite defender at the moment is Timber. He also scored last night from an Bukayo Saka corner. Saliba is also there. After that, again, if you have players like Calafiori, I would just keep them at the moment. When Gabriel is going to be back, a lot of people are not talking about this situation. Everyone is going to have to want to have Gabriel back right into their teams, but until that, I still think that obviously it is really a good idea to invest in some Arsenal players. Someone like Eze, we're going to talk also about him. Again, Odegaard was on the bench. So at some point, I think that they are going to share the minutes. They have a lot of good midfielders at the moment. Merino also played as a striker in this game. Gyökeres, Havertz, they are also probably really close to training and probably really close to being back. So I think that we're going to see some rotation. Bukayo Saka, again, he played just 60 minutes or something like that, so he's fine for the weekend. And yeah, talking about Arsenal in general, they were fantastic also against Bayern Munich. They were fantastic against Tottenham. They conceded one goal just because Richarlison scored the wonder goal. So pretty much, other than that, Spurs didn't create a lot of chances against Arsenal. So yeah, they are the best defense in the Premier League, but you don't need me to tell you that. And yeah, I think that it is a good idea to buy Arsenal players, but probably for me myself, I think that I would avoid them for one more game week if you can do that. In the next section, I want to discuss a little bit about some of the best defenses in the Premier League, and for that we're going to use the expected goals conceded metric in the last 5 game weeks. So between game week 8 and game week 12. Now, as I said before, there's no secret. You don't need me to tell you that Arsenal are the best defense in the Premier League, and as you can see from the screen, in the last 5 game weeks, they average per 90 minutes 0.37 expected goals considered per 90 minutes, and that's just ridiculous. That's just incredible. And yeah, I don't need to tell you that you should buy some Arsenal defenders if you don't have any. Other than that, I want to take a look at also some other teams. Depending on your chip strategy, probably I'm just going to repeat myself, but depending if you're going to use your free in 13, in 15, in 16, and or in other any week, you should try to see which players obviously you want to buy. And talking about some of these defenders, Brentford are going to play against Burnley in game week 13. If you want to buy them, they have obviously a nice fixture in game week 13, but after that they are going to play against Arsenal and against Spurs. So again, the fixtures are just not amazing in the next three for Brentford. If we take all those three fixtures, if you're using your free, yeah, that's perfectly fine. I think that a lot of people are going to have some Brentford defenders on that. Other than that, talking about their defenders, Van den Berg probably is the most interesting one alongside Kelleher. So I think that they are a great option going forward. About Chelsea, I don't want to talk too much about them because it just feels like the ship has sailed with Chelsea. The good fixtures are gone right now, and the fixtures who are coming next are just not that amazing at the moment. So I'm just not sure how many of you, or I just don't think that I would advise any of you to rush to buy a lot of Chelsea defenders. Obviously, in Gaming 13, they're going to play against Arsenal, so probably the best idea would be to avoid both teams. Other than that, a little bit surprising maybe for some, Manchester City are on the 4th place here in the last 5 game weeks. They defended pretty good. So again, if you want to buy someone like O'Reilly, if you want to buy someone like Guardiol, if you want to buy someone like Donnarumma, I just don't think that it is such a bad strategy. But again, with Donnarumma, it feels like he's a lot more expensive. So probably I would just take a punt on someone like O'Reilly from Manchester City, and that's it. Because also Inyer is going to go to AFCON, as I said before, so he's going to get good minutes, I think, in the future. Crystal Palace, again, another team who I don't really need to discuss too much. Their defenders are really good. And yeah, if we're talking about defensive contributions, all of them are decent. Richards, Lacroix, Gay, and Munoz. Again, I think that Munoz is the best defender to own from Crystal Palace, but he's also the most expensive one, so it's not that easy. If you have someone like Richards, that's perfectly fine. I don't think that's a rush to buy them against Manchester United, but after that, the fixtures are decent. And yeah, I just like Munoz. Obviously, I have him in my team. Brighton, again, if you want to free it in Game Week 16, it could be a nice idea to get some Brighton defenders. If you want to go for someone like Verbruggen, if you want to go for someone like Van Heck, who's also decent for defensive contributions, they're going to play against Liverpool in Game Week 16. And although at the moment playing against Liverpool, it doesn't sound like such a hard fixture. Again, I still think that I would avoid playing some defenders against Liverpool anyway. Fulham, Anderson, pretty much that's the only player I would go for them. Defensive wise, Nottingham Forest is an interesting team. They are looking better at the moment. Obviously, they played against Liverpool at Anfield. They kept a clean sheet. Again, probably Liverpool should have scored in that game if we're looking at the stats at the XG. But someone like Murillo is just looking like he's back with defensive contributions. Everyone bought Murillo in Game Week 1, expecting him to be a defensive contributions monster. But right now, against Liverpool at least, he got an amazing amount. So I just don't think that there's a rush to buy Nottingham Forest players. Someone like Nico Williams, I think that it is a really interesting option, but he's on 4 yellow cards, so that's the only problem with him. He's good for attacking threat, he's decent for defensive contributions. And yeah, other than that, talking about Nottingham Forest, yeah, let's talk also a little bit about Anderson. I think that he's also a nice option. He has some attacking threat. He's good for defensive contributions. He's pretty much someone like Caicedo, obviously, with, I don't know, I would say slightly better. Maybe not for defensive contributions, but maybe for some set pieces, he's also taking some of them. Aston Villa, Sunderland, yeah, on a free, I would go for some Aston Villa defenders. Other than that, I just don't think that I would buy any Sunderland or Aston Villa defenders into your actual team if you're not using any cheap. Moving next, I want to discuss a little bit about some fixture runs. As you can see here, from Game Week 13 to Game Week 18, now I selected just a few teams who I think that are interested, for me at least, and I think that are going to be interested for you as well. Also in FPL now. Again, Liverpool, Man City, Bournemouth, Newcastle, Brentford, Arsenal, Fulham, Crystal Palace, Man United and Brighton. If depending on your chip strategy, as I repeated myself in this video, it really depends how do you want to go. Because for an example, if you want to use your free in Game Week 13, just buy 3 Brentford players. You're going to play against Burnley at home, and then just figure it out when you want to buy them, probably in Game Week 16 back, right? When they're going to play against Leeds, Wolverhampton and Burnley. So again, it really depends on your strategy. If you're not using your fleet in Game Week 13, it could be also a nice idea to just buy them right now. But starting with the first team here, Liverpool, everybody knows they are on an amazing run of fixtures, probably the best run of fixture for all these teams. West Ham, Sunderland, Leeds, Brighton at home, Tottenham and Wolverhampton at home in Game Week 18, and the list goes on. The fixtures are just great for Liverpool, but it is a shame at the moment. As I said before, I don't think that I would recommend anyone to buy Liverpool players at the moment, but if somebody tells me I just want to buy someone like Gakpo, I want to take a punt on someone like Alexander Isak, I want to take a punt on someone like Van Dijk, again, I just can't say that's wrong also, because I think that at some point Liverpool are going to get better. Now, when that's going to be, yeah, I don't know, and I wish I could tell you. If you have some players from Liverpool, as I said before, I would keep them. If not, I would not be in a rush to buy them. But the fixtures are just great. So if you can nail these players who are going to start for Liverpool, if you're confident about Gakpo's minutes, about I don't know, someone like Ekitike, someone like Alexander Isak, which probably you are not going to be confident, then yeah, if you want to take a punt, if you want to go super different, I don't think that's such a big problem. With Manchester City, yeah, in Gaming 13, they have a good run of fixture apart for Gaming 13. Leeds, Fulham, Sunderland, Palace, West Ham and Nottingham Forest. I'm a little bit surprised not a lot of people are talking about buying some Manchester City players, but it's kind of the same thing, not the same thing with Liverpool, but it's about Man City. They are rotating a lot. Everybody owns Haaland. Other than that, are you going to go for Foden, Doku? In attack, are you going to go for Cherky? You just can't guarantee the minutes for all these players. If you want to take a punt on someone like O'Reilly, I think that's perfectly fine. Play him in Game Week 13, bench if you want against Fulham, play again against Sunderland, maybe free it in Game Week 16 against Crystal Palace away and have him for West Ham at home. So when also Ainer is going to go to AFCON, yeah, if you want to go for some defenders from Manchester City, yeah, I think that's perfectly fine. The fixtures are really good. Bournemouth, a team who, again, I probably would not advise anyone to buy players right now, but if you have someone like Semenyo, if you have someone like Senesi, as long as he's not going to get that fifth yellow card, I think that I would just keep them, at least for Sunderland, for Everton. In Gaming 15 is going to be entry point, let's say, when you can sell your Bournemouth players, I would say against Chelsea. But in Gaming 16, Man United away is not such a bad fixture, and you have Burnley at home in Gaming 17. So keeping them all the way through Gaming 13, 17 is perfectly fine. And after that, you have also Brentford away. So it's not a rush to sell Bournemouth players. With Newcastle, I would say the same. If you have them, keep them. If not, I think that I would avoid the moment. if you want to buy a defender, again, the fixtures are pretty decent. Honestly, Everton, Spurs, Burnley, Sunderland, then Chelsea, Man United, not amazing. So if you have them, I think that I would keep. If not, I would try to avoid. Brentford, as I said before, if you want to buy them ahead of curve, if you want to buy someone like Thiago, because he's going to rise in price probably sometimes till in the next few weeks, it's okay to have him against Burnley. Then if you can bench him against Arsenal, that's perfectly fine. If you're forced to play him against Arsenal, it's not going to be the end of the world. With Arsenal, we talked about them. I think that I would void them for gaming 13 at least. If you another really interesting thing, because I'm thinking about that for my team. I have just one Arsenal player at the moment, David Raya in goal, and I'm thinking about going without Arsenal, without adding more Arsenal players till gaming 16 when I'm going to use my free. So Chelsea away, Brentford at home, Aston Villa away. It's not the best set of three fixtures, let's say, but again, at the same time, Arsenal are the best team in the league. They are the best defense in the league. They are scoring also goals for fun at the moment. So yeah, I would avoid them at least for gaming 13 and buy them if you want from gaming 14 onwards. For Fulham, Rodrigo Muniz is expected to be out for some period of time until the next year. So if you want to take a punt on someone like Raul Jimenez, obviously the next two fixtures are not amazing, Spurs and Man City, but after that, Crystal Palace, Burnley, Nottingham Forest, West Ham, I think that we should monitor those fixtures. And if you want to buy someone like Anderson, let's say from gaming 15, 16, I think that's perfectly fine. With Crystal Palace, again, if you have those players, a lot of people are going to use their free to remove their Crystal Palace against Man United. I think that this is a decent fixture, obviously, but again, on a free, I would not have probably any Crystal Palace players, honestly, myself, but it is a good fixture. Man United, Burnley, Fulham, Man City is tough. So if you want a free in gaming 16, that works perfectly fine with your Crystal Palace players. And then you have Leeds and Tottenham. So another team who I think that is going to be interesting for us in the future when Ismail Assar is going to go to the African Cup of Nations, someone like Jeremy Pino could become an option. He's just 5.8 million at the moment, but we're going to talk about that after it's going to happen. With Manchester United, um, a tricky team again to talk. They just lost by playing against Everton, 10 men at home at Old Trafford. So again, they lost that game. They were really terrible in that game. They're going to play against Crystal Palace away. I would say that it's not a rush to buy them ahead of Crystal Palace away. But after that, the fixtures obviously are really tasty. West Ham at home, Wolverhampton away, and Bournemouth at home. After that, maybe someone like Mbeumo is going to go to the African Cup of Nations. But again, if you keep them, if you have Bruno Fernandes, if you have Mbeumo, if you have Cunha, just wait to see more information and just keep them obviously and play them. And with Brighton, yeah, the options here are Welbeck, Minte, someone like Van Heck, someone like Verbruggen in defense, Nottingham Forest, Aston Villa, West Ham, Liverpool in 16, again, works really fine with the free in gaming 16, Sunderland, and then Arsenal in gaming 18. Someone like Minte, obviously, I think that it's the standout player from Brighton because he's really cheap and yeah, as I said before, I think that he's one of the best players in that price bracket. In the next two parts, we're going to take a look at who are the most transferred in slash out players for Gaming 13, and I'm going to give you my opinion on this. Now, should you buy these players? As you can see from the screen, someone like Thiago is the first here. He's transferred in by almost 400k people, and that's not a surprise because they're going to play against Burnley in Gaming 13. So that's a no-brainer. I think that this is a good transfer. Just do it. Eze on the second place. On the other hand, I know that obviously he scored the hat-trick against Spurs, so that's why he's really popular. But I just think that the boat might be missed on someone like Eberechi Eze. Odegaard is back in training. He was back on the bench against Bayern Munich. I think that they're going to share minutes. Now, again, I still don't think that this is the game to buy someone like Eberechi Eze. They're going to play against Chelsea away. Could he do something? Yes, of course, it's football, but I just don't think that it's. There are a lot of good reasons to buy Eberechi Eze. I think that he's a decent pick. I just don't think that we can guarantee his minutes going forward. So yeah, I don't think that he deserves maybe that those many transfers in. Munoz, on the other hand, he got 14 points. Obviously, that's influencing a lot of people's minds because he got 14 points. If he blanked in that fixture, would he be that much transfer in? Probably not. It is a fixture against Man United. Again, not the best one for a clean sheet. Obviously, with Munoz, you're relying also on some attacking threats or him creating some chances, him getting maybe some defensive contributions. I don't think that this is the perfect time to buy Munoz against Man United, but Munoz is a pick who I think that he's going to be really good long term because he's playing pretty much every gaming. So yeah, the same goes for someone like Timber. Not the best fixture to buy him in against Chelsea way, but I think that long term he's really great. With Rogers, I'm not sure how many of these transfers are because of those people who activated their free hits. So on a free hit, I think that Rogers is amazing. But if you're talking about how Rogers played, how he performed this season, his numbers are just really bad. And besides Game Week 12, when he scored 2 goals, he didn't do a lot of things, let's say, in FPL this season. So yeah, long term, I'm not sure if I want Rogers into my team, but yeah, for Gaming 13, I think that he could be a good pick. Minte, I think that he's great for the future. The same with Welbeck when the fixtures are going to be really tight, really congested in the festive period. I think that he could be benched at some point, but at the moment he's on penalties playing for Brighton, a really good attacking side. So yeah, I think that he's a decent transfer. Also, O'Reilly, Doku, Rice. O'Reilly, I think that he's the defender to go for Manchester City, as I said before. Doku, I'm just not sold with Doku as a FPL option. He's more likely to get you an assist. In the long run, you just don't know when he's going to start. He could be benched. So if you're going to buy someone like Doku, just be prepared. If he's going to be benched, you just can't complain too much about it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And Rice, again, 6.9 millions. I think that he's good value. Are there maybe other good players who are better than Rice? Yeah, maybe, but he's really good also on set pieces. Yeah, so yeah, no complaints for me here. Let's move to the next part. All right, so in the next part, let's see who are the most stalled players in Gaming 13. And yeah, should you sell them? With Gabriel, obviously, that's a definite yes. Gabriel is going to be out for 1 or 2 months. So yeah, totally understandable. People are selling Gabriel for good reasons. Semenyo, on the other hand, on the second place, he's sold. He was sold by almost 400k people. Maybe some of them are using their frees, but even that, I just think that he's a declared fit. He trained, so he's okay to play against Sunderland. And I know that Sunderland are played really good this season, but they are still a newly promoted side. That's still a decent fixture in my eyes for someone like Semenyo. And with Clivert being ruled out with an injury, probably, or maybe he's also going to be on penalty. So again, I think that you should think twice before selling Semenyo. But again, if you want to buy someone like Saka, if you want to buy someone like Mohamed Salah, maybe not Mohamed Salah, but you got my point. If you want to buy other expensive player like Mbeumo, maybe I can understand it. But other than that, I just think that Semenyo could punish his these owners who are selling him. So yeah, João Pedro, again, totally fine. I think that it is the time to sell him. He was good in some fixtures, really bad in some other fixtures, but the fixtures for Chelsea overall are just not amazing. So I think that it's understandable to sell him. Caicedo, again, he's a 6.1 midfielder who's really good for defensive contribution. So I understand that the fixtures are not great for Chelsea, but if you have this kind of player, surely you're not. I mean, a lot of people probably are just going to sell Caicedo to Anderson, and I really like that move overall. But at the end of the day, he's really good for DEFCON. He's probably going to get them against Arsenal. Surely you can't expect Caicedo to score every game week. That wasn't going to happen ever. So yeah, he's still a decent pick. I think like 6.1 millions, but yeah, I understand if you want to sell him. On the other hand, someone like Reinders, yeah, he's just a sell. I wish I can sell him as fast as possible in my team also. So he's a sell. He played in the Champions League. His minutes are just not guaranteed at the moment. And even when he plays, he's not getting a lot of chances. He's not getting defensive contribution points. So he's just not a good pick at the moment, at least. Mateta, another player who I think that you should be careful before selling. I know a lot of people are frustrating about him. I captained him in Game Week 12 when he was subbed off before even playing 60 minutes. So that's really frustrating. And going forward, I think that it is a concern with Mateta. With Nketiah being bad, his minutes probably are going to be reduced. But is this the best moment to sell him? Maybe, maybe not. He's going to play against Man United. He's still on penalties. So yeah, I just don't think that's a rush to sell him. Salah, again, you should again, probably you should sold him before that. Ekitike, he has an injury doubt, so probably he's a sell. Kudus, again, probably he's also a sell, but yeah, Fulham at home is not such a bad fixture also. And with Gakpo, 7.5 millions, I just think that I would not sell him, honestly, this game week. If you have Gakpo, with the doubts around Wirtz, around Ekitike, around other players from Liverpool, Bradley, Frimpong, I think that Gakpo should start in Game Week 13 against West Ham away. And if he's going to start, I think that is just a great option. Liverpool, again, I talked a lot about Liverpool. They were really bad. They deserve to lose the last 3, 4, 5 games they lost already, but they should have scored more goals. That's the honest truth. They had a lot of chances, they just missed them. And yeah, Gakpo is going to be involved in the goals if Liverpool are going to score some against West Ham. Alright guys, now in this part, since a lot of people are thinking about using their free hit, using their triple captain in the next few game weeks, a lot of people probably have those chips, and maybe you're undecided about how and when to use your free hit, when to use your triple captain, when to use your bench boost. And I want you all to try to make an exercise, and I want here to discuss also about the chips. And yeah, the exercise, obviously this is for my team in game week 13 and in game week 16. This is how my normal team would look like. And before asking, I think that you should, if you have the triple captain and the free chip for an example, I think that you should decide when are you going to use your free hit, and then just figure it out when you're going to use your triple captain, because obviously the free hit chip is more important, I think, than the triple captain. That's what I did, obviously. So this is what I did, how I decided when to use it. This is how my team is looking at the moment for Game Week 13. And for an example, again, if I would be freighting, obviously I would be changing almost all my players, probably besides Haaland and Thiago. Probably I would be changing all of them, but I think that my team in Game Week 13 is looking better than my team is going to look like in Game Week 16. Now, again, I made some imaginary transfers. I'm going to have 3 free transfers until Game Week 15, which I'm going to need to make, and that's going to depend how my team is going to look in Game Week 16. But as you can see, the team in 16 has Njae, who's going to play against Chelsea away, Minte against Liverpool away, Munoz and Mateta against Man City at home, and these are going to be my starting players. The players on my bench are even worse than that. And also Bruno Fernandes against Bournemouth, Virgil van Dijk against Brighton. So probably this would be the players I'm going to change when I'm going to use my free hit in Game Week 16. Also maybe someone like Haaland, maybe I'm going to go against him. Maybe by that time we're going to go for someone like Salah, Bukayo Saka and Palmer. So again, when deciding when to use your free hit, it's not important just which free team is going to score most points. If you think that the free hit in Game Week 13 is going to score more points than the free hit in Game Week 16, it is important to try to add those calculations, obviously. So for an example, for my team, I think that my normal team in Game Week 13 plus my free team in Game Week 16 is going to score more points than my normal team in Game Week 16 would score plus my free in Game Week 13. So that's pretty much how I decided I want to use my free in Game Week 16. And also that's another reason why I think that I'm going to use my triple captain. I'm not 99% sure I'm going to use my triple captain on Erling Haaland, and that's basically because I have this opportunity right in front of me. He was rested against Leverkusen. Manchester City lost to Leverkusen, they lost to Newcastle, they want to bounce back. They're going to play at home against Leeds, against the newly promoted side, who are also leaking some chances at the moment. So I think that this is the opportunity to use it. And again, you could say that maybe in Game Week 17 it is a slightly better fixture to triple captain Erling Haaland, but again, so many things could change. Maybe someone like Haaland is going to get injured, and that shouldn't be such a big problem, because if he's going to get injured, you're just going to captain someone like Saka, let's say in Game Week 16 against Wolverhampton, or you can captain Erling Haaland in Game Week 15 against Sunderland. So again, try to see how this free team obviously works best for your team. So if your team is looking horrible for Game Week 13, just use your free right now. But other than that, try to see when your team is looking really bad. Obviously, depending on your players you have, depending on which transfers are you planning to do, and just use the free in that week. Because having to use the free right now this season, because we didn't have this opportunity last season, we didn't have double chips, it's really tricky, because it could go totally wrong. So for an example, example, I'm going to go, if I would be using the free in 13, I would be going without any Arsenal players who could totally get a clean sheet against Chelsea. They could win against Chelsea. So it could go totally wrong. There isn't a right or wrong gaming to use the free. So just use it when it works well for your team. Now, real short, we're also going to take a look at some market projections for Gaming 13, and I think that this is going to be really useful for all of you who want to use their free in Gaming 13. If you don't know already, again, these are the projected goals and the clean sheet odds for Gaming 13. If you're one of those guys who are using their free, you know that you're probably targeting Manchester City players, maybe not so Liverpool players, but Brentford and Aston Villa. And these four teams are obviously the most ready to score the most goals. Man City are going to play against Leeds at home, Brentford against Burnley at home, and Aston Villa against Wolverhampton at home. So an amazing set of fixtures for these three teams, and I think that it's also a nice opportunity if you're freeing to go really different, because nobody's going to have three players from Brentford, nobody's going to have three players from Aston Villa in their normal teams, I think. So when you're targeting defenders for your free, I would have one for City, one from Brentford, and again, probably two from Aston Villa. I made a free draft this week. Probably I would go for O'Reilly, probably I would go for Van de Berg or Kelleher, and probably I would go for Martinez and Matty Cash from Aston Villa, because these three teams are pretty to have the most chances of getting a clean sheet, let's say, in Gaming 13. And then, yeah, if you want to go for another defender, it's between Liverpool, Spurs, Arsenal, Newcastle, Bournemouth. It's really close between those teams. If going for attackers, why am I also saying that? I think that I would still go for Mohamed Salah and for Gakpo. I would go for two attackers from Liverpool, I think, because they are ready to score the second most goals in Gaming 13. Man City, obviously, against Leeds, they are the first team, so I would go for double City attack also. Even triple City attack could be interesting. Brentford, Shade, Thiago, and for Aston Villa, pretty much it's just Rodgers. If you can afford Watkins, he could be okay, but he's just too much money, I think, and his minutes are just not guaranteed at the moment. Malen is playing really good. So yeah, this is pretty much for the market projections. Now let's take a look also at the wildcard team for Gaming 13. Okay, now in the last part of today's video, I want to show you a wildcard draft for Gaming 13. Now I'm not sure how many people still have their wildcard. I'm not sure how many people are going to use their wildcard in Gaming 13, but I think that it's worth mentioning, even if there are some few people who are interested. I'm going to say, I'm going to be honest here, I didn't thought so much about using wildcard in Gaming 13, so maybe your team is going to be slightly different. It really depends also how many chips you also have available. If you still have your free available, you're going to obviously use your wildcard in 13. And if you plan to use your free in Gaming 16, for an example, I would try to have some Brighton players. That's why I have Verbruggen, Minte, Welbeck. Let's talk about the front line, because it's the easiest part. I would have Erling Haaland, I would have Thiago on a wildcard. After that, if you want to add one more striker, if you still want to go for Mateta, probably that's okay, but I just don't think that I would go right now in that direction. And other than that, Welbeck probably is the third best pretty much striker at the moment. You could go for someone like Guyu if you want. You could just upgrade someone like Soboslai. Talking about the defense, I would go for Munoz. I think on a wildcard I would have Van de Berg as a nice rotating option. The fixtures are good in Gaming 13. After that, Arsenal Spurs is not amazing, and then from Gaming 16 the fixtures are decent: Leeds, Wolves, Bournemouth, and Spurs. So I would have, I think, someone like Kelleher in goal or someone like Van der Berg in defense. I would go for O'Reilly on a wildcard. I think that you should take a punt if you have this opportunity, and it also works really nice with free hitting in Gaming 16. In midfield, I would have definitely Bukayo Saka. Let's talk also a little bit about Arsenal. Although they're going to play against Chelsea away, I would have three players from Arsenal, probably because they are just outstanding at the moment. They are the best team in the league. In defense at the moment, my favorite options are Timber and Saliba. I think that I would go for double Arsenal defense. Definitely I would go for Saka. If you want to go for Rice, if you want to go for Raya, if you want to go for Calafiori, that's perfectly fine. If you want to go for Eze, that's perfectly fine. Although I just don't think that I would go for it on a wild card. Here you could play also an Arsenal defender. It's not a problem. Dubravka in goal would be. And in midfield, I would have Minte 100% on the wild card. Anderson probably would be in. He's good for defensive contributions. He could be also on penalties when Morgan Gibbs-White is not on the pitch. The fixtures are decent. Forest are playing better at the moment, like they used to in the start of the season. So Brighton, Wolves, Everton, Spurs, Fulham, the fixtures are just decent for them. So I really like Anderson. For 5.3 millions, I think that he could be great value. And then here you can make some changes. With Bruno Fernandes, Soboslai, Welbeck, I think that you can make some changes. As you can see, you don't have any players who are going to go to the African Cup of Nations. It's up to you if you want to have some. Someone like Sar could be okay. Obviously, someone like Mbeumo could be nice. Yeah, you can make some changes. If you don't want to go for, I don't know, three striker formation, obviously here you're not going to bench Welbeck. Probably you're just going to bench someone like Minte. Again, it's not great, but you want to have a strong squad coming December and the festive period. If you want to go for someone like Guyu, here you could upgrade someone like Soboslai to an Mbeumo. Okay, if I can find him, and also you have 0.5 millions in the bank, so you could make also more changes. So yeah, someone like Cunha could be an option. If we take a look at some other players who are decent for a wild card, let's say Foden could be an interesting one. Raul Jimenez could be a nice pound, but probably I would just go for Thiago or Welbeck. Uh, Mateta, probably you're not going to go there. Other than that, Cunha, if he's fit, Semenyo, if you want Semenyo, he could be here. And you have 0.9 millions in the bank, perfectly fine. Enzo Fernandez, I would not go there. Liverpool players, again, you could go for someone like Gakpo, but probably I wouldn't right now, honestly, with the form they are in at the moment. So yeah, pretty much this is something of a wildcard draft I prepared for you for Gaming 13. Hopefully that's going to help some of you. And thanks a lot for watching this video. Sorry for it being such a long video, obviously, but yeah, hopefully you're going to get some things useful from it. And thanks a lot for watching. It was really long. Thanks for watching that much. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, hit that subscribe button if you're not here, and I'm going to see you on my deadline stream, so be right there. Bye.